Alright, I'm going to create a new Photoshop document. I'll call this one, let's call it assignment 6. And I'm going to keep the width 1024 by 1024 for the width and height, resolution kept to 300, and the color mode RGB. We're actually going to want to shrink this down eventually, but let's start it off nice and big to make it easy to work with. So I say OK. Then, just as I did with the letter D, I'm going to copy a picture that I can use as a nice tracing image for the custom cursor that we're going to create for Unity. So in the PowerPoint slide for this week, you'll see that there is a picture in there of a cursor. Now, if I look at this, it's actually a little bit squashed, and I'd like to have it be more round. So I'm going to drag this up a little bit until it looks pretty round. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but I'll get it as close as I can. As soon as I click on the selection tool, again, it's going to ask me if I want to place the file, and I'll say, sure, let's place the file. Also, I'd like to be able to zoom in on this a little bit, so I'm going to grab my selection tool and drag out around that. I might want to move my selection a little bit right there. And then I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come over to my layers, create a new layer, and paste it on the new layer. Then I'm going to get rid of the original layer. Now I've got it right in the center. Transform this, and I'm going to scale it out a little bit, like so. Okay, right to about there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to crop. What I did is image and choose crop, and that will set the image to be the same size as this image. So basically playing around till I get a nice large size scale of that image that I can use to trace. So that looks pretty good to me right now. I'll deselect it. I'm going to lock that layer, and I'm going to add a new layer. And then I'm going to do what we did a few minutes ago, which is going to be to trace out this shape. So I'll let you do that. I'll pause the video and come back when I'm done. A quick note as I'm going through and tracing out my target here is when I draw the actual lines using the stroke path with brush tool, I want my color to be white. When I bring this into Unity and use it as a GUI texture, it's going to make things work much more simply if I've got the color to white. Now, it's possible to change the color in Unity, but for simplicity's sake, let's change it here. All right, so continue on your way, filling this in as you need to. Like I've got mine drawn out here. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. All right, and then I'll hit pause, and you keep at it, and I'll keep at it. Okay, I've got all mine drawn out. It's a good idea to put a fairly thick stroke line. So with your brush tool, when you go to use the stroke path with brush tool, make sure that you've got a width set to be pretty strong or pretty wide. All right. And I'll come back to my layers, and I don't actually need this first layer anymore, so I'll go ahead and delete it. Got it locked, so I have to unlock it, and then I can delete it. Now it's not going to show up, right, because we've got a white color, but it is there, so you should be okay. I'm going to get rid of my background layer, so the only thing left is going to be my target drawn out in the middle like that. Now you might want to, one more time, crop your image, your canvas, so that it will match to the edges of this image. got all this selected. Then I can do crop, and that will bring us right down to there, so that the canvas matches the edges of our image. All right. I'll make sure I save this. Got it saved as assignment 6. It's going to ask me if I want to maximize compatibility. I'll say sure. Then we're going to do a save as. And instead of saving it as a Photoshop file, we will save it out as a PNG file. It'll ask if I want to compress it. I'll say no. Right. And we'll come all the way back into Unity. And what we can do is import that image. So I'm going to go find it. I've got my adventure images selected. Go to Assets and choose Import New Asset. Find where you saved that image that you just created. Got mine here in my week 7 folder called assignment number 6 PNG, so I import that. Then when I look over at the texture type, you'll see it just looks like a big white blob over here. So we want to change texture type to GUI. Hit apply. And then you'll see down here that it now shows the proper transparent background. Then just to show what this looks like, I'll come to my hierarchy, select the game pointer, and over here on the GUI texture section, you'll see we have the game pointer small, which is what we put in for the GUI texture in part 1 of the video. So I'll just grab that assignment 6, drop it over there, and hit play. And now you'll see we've got the custom cursor that we just put in there. And the reason it's showing up as the appropriate size is because if you remember on the game pointer object in the GUI texture section, we set the width and the height to 32, so it will still show up the proper size. But just as in earlier, we saw that it was the cursor was a little bit jagged around the edges. This one is too, because the image itself is so large. So what I might want to do is come back into Photoshop. Here's that image. I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to say Image Size. And I'm going to adjust that image size down to 32 by 32. Say OK. Now it's going to look awfully small. And then I'm going to do a Save As. Save it to the same location. I'll call it Assignment 6 Small. That saved it as a Photoshop one. Then I'll do a Save As again. And now we're going to save it out as a PNG. Come back into Unity, select my Adventure Images folder, go to Assets, Import New Asset, grab the small version, this Assignment 6 Small PNG, say OK, change the texture type to GUI, hit OK, come back to our game pointer, grab that Assignment 6 Small, drop it on there. Now when I hit play, it'll show up as much smoother, as you can see. Now we've got all of our code already in here from earlier, so now when I roll over that object without having to do anything, it already will change itself to a red color. And that's it. Okay, so that's what you need to do for assignment number 6. So go ahead and do that. When you submit assignment number 6, save your file as a published executable for Windows, along with the required data folder that goes with it. Zip the two of those together and upload your published game using the assignment link. Make extra sure that the game actually runs. If it doesn't run for any reason, I can't give you a score, so your score will be 0. So double check to make sure that it works before you go to submit, and that's it. It's a long lesson today. Good luck and have fun.